running for president.
Because they will do that all over the world. That's a great idea.
You know, and so that's a matter of Ron Paul groups and meetups. You know, so this is, yeah, she's totally right. We tap into people with you know, big Facebook and MySpace networks. And that's out there. That's what we got to do.
Okay, well, one point on that is that, because I totally agree with what you're saying, and we had hoped that the communicating of the ballot initiative campaign throughout the 9/11 Truth Movement would generate this kind of support. Because the 9/11 Truth community, you know, is global, and all these different groups, and there's been some response there. But, you know, I was not as impressed with the responses as I might have been. So maybe there's other approaches we need to take to generate the kind of support for this local campaign around the country and around the world. So, you know, other ideas and other approaches are definitely welcome. That's why we need to have people, you know, like you on the committee.
You're saying that this has already been tried in some way?
Yeah. Well, some of it has. Yeah, you know, some of what you're saying, we've been doing this for a while, but you know, you might have tweak it there and tweak it there, may make it work.
Missing piece of the puzzle. We try. It's unbelievable. Everybody's for the same cause, but as soon as you get together with them, you know, I want to quote somebody who said it's like trying to what is it when you get animals together? Yeah, it's like trying to herd wild cats. We all are cats and we all want the same thing, but it's just like everybody's, and for no reason. But I've seen it happen. I've seen so many. I saw the Ron Paul group fall apart. I've seen this group divided. People get divided, and I don't know why. I don't know what. Unfortunately, it's a bad aspect of being a human. I wish I could get rid of it, but I completely. I'll even help you, but I've seen it happen.
I'm not necessarily doing it. I'm just asking what, you know.
Even my own. I came to this group 4 years ago with my friend, and all of a sudden he's just like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Okay. So I think it's clear to see that there's within the 9/11 Truth Movement fundraising, but then there's beyond the 9/11 Truth Movement.
Right. Absolutely.
That's where this is really got to go in terms of not only fundraising, but just broad-based coalition building and support.
Sandra.
Yeah, I actually think we got to get away from pessimism, and we got to get away from saying we tried this before, it won't work. We've got new people here today who are for the first meeting, you know, and they're going to get turned off if you say, oh, it won't work. I'll tell you, there is a reason there is a reason for all of the fractiousness in this group. You know, it's not just you can't just blame human nature, but like this is one of the things that this group really needs is transparency. You know, it needs a treasurer. It needs nonprofit status. I mean, I'm part of this group, but I'm also part of other 9/11 Truth groups in the city and in the metro area. And this group has a bad reputation about financial transparency. I'll be straight up with you, be totally honest with you. So your concerns and the concerns over here about financial transparency are spot on, and those need to be addressed. If this group is going to live, if this group is going to rehabilitate its reputation, as somebody who loves the truth and loves this group, I'm saying from the heart that you've got to work on this. You've got to work on financial transparency. It's not enough to say, I'm the treasurer. No, you're the instigator, the catalyst, the leader of the group. You've got to have a separate treasurer. Absolutely. You've got to have a separate bank account. And whoever said that, you know, if you want big money, you're going to have more nonprofit status is also right.
Can I there's a corporate account under 911initiative.org that Bill and Lloyd set up. That's there. That's ready to go and use and have, you know, at least two people on the account. Might as well, you know, that's ready.
Who's on the account now?
Lloyd Wills.
And you need one more person.
You need one more person, so that's...
Maybe that person could be called the treasurer, and that would be a good idea.
And he should be a person
who should nominate somebody.
And it should be a person who's good at bookkeeping, who doesn't mind doing it. It's a big job.
Lucille, could you do something?
Well, I'm absolutely the worst person. I would destroy
Well, that's why I asked you.
I mean, I would love to help, but I mean, it would be death to destruction.
Yeah, as far as the transparency thing is there's some naysayers who are pushing that issue, but that's another point. But the thing is that the not-for-profit thing, we've been running through the church. We discussed the idea of setting up a not-for-profit corporation, and as we were sponsored by the church, up to this point, up to quite recently, that hasn't been an issue. But it actually becomes an issue now because we're not going to be doing it that way anymore. So the issue of a not-for-profit sponsor, but up to this point, people could give money and write it off. That was not an obstacle to donating to the cause. There are other obstacles. They're ideological, they're lack of funds, they're naysayers, there's disinformation. There's a lot of other obstacles, trust me. But lack of a not-for-profit, and to my way of looking at it, transparency aren't the reasons. That's what I feel about that. But we need to continue to address these concerns, and maybe the next time we meet in a couple of weeks, we come forward with some treasurer ideas or what would constitute transparency. Reports or bank statements or whatever it is, we do it and then we move on, because that shouldn't be, we shouldn't allow that, to tame, or this one's getting rich on that.
I don't think we should lose the point that he's saying. If people think that there hasn't been accountability on the part of money regarding the group, let's change that by putting somebody in there now. It's like, I just asked Lucille, maybe Steve could do it, or somebody could get on the account, and then put out a statement every month, to run for the group.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think we heard about that.
Standard business procedure.
Yeah, standard business procedure.
Right.
Can you do it?
Well, we can use our hand.
Okay, so he's going to think about it. Maybe anybody else could, you think of something like that.
Hey, just
related point.
Okay, go ahead.
When we ask people to sign these petitions, we're describing a group of people who will come forward and fund the investigation itself, if we can get it passed. Right. That was last summer that I was doing it, and of course we had the financial hit that we took, the financial attack on America in September. Has this in any way changed the position of these people who are elected? And I do have people asking me, who are they? So at this stage, I think that needs to be reviewed through just different economic situations. And could some of these people, not all of them, step forward to make themselves known? That would give even more momentum to the movement.
That's suicidal to their image. They just can't do that. You have to understand, for them to function.
It's my image to stand in the street and ask for signatures of people.
But somebody like Rosie O'Donnell, I've spoken to Rosie O'Donnell, and she is so with us. So you have to say, well, how come she's not here? How come she's not? And
How come she didn't write a check?
well, their whole, but that's a good question. But, they're afraid that everything that they've built up their whole lives, because society is so ignorant, it's going to just be blown apart if they embrace this. That's what they're afraid of. That's what it is.
But they already spoke up. I mean,
And you know what? And they were put in a meat grinder.
slandered, I understand.
And they were put in a meat grinder, and they don't want to get ground up anymore.
So I mean, you may as well just go all the way now, because. And by the way, let me just say something. In Nyack, New York, Bill, the guy who owns this timber company and everything, I went over there. He got me in the car. I passed by Rosie O'Donnell's mansion. Is by the Hudson River. I was coming up with this idea because people were saying, why don't we demonstrate and all that. If anybody wants to come with me and ask her, personally, go over there, I'll get Bill and get as many people, ring on the doorbell there. It's a giant gate, and then the house is like freaking 200 yards away. Let's give it a shot. We can give that a shot too.
But is that, because now we're scared.
All right, well, I don't want to. Once you already made your move, Charlie, can we get back can we just resolve this treasury issue? I'd like to move that. I don't know, can we do it the next meeting so people can think about who it is because we shouldn't just, it seems to me that would be, I don't care. You can do it now if you want to do it. Let's just do it and get it over with. Yeah, you have a vote on a treasurer or something or other, get it over with, and then whatever addendums we want to put on that. We've done this. Les made a couple of financial reports that people saw and so forth and so on. This is beating a dead horse as far as I can see, but let's just nail it down. If it needs to be nailed down, let's nail it down.
I just nominated Steve.
What it involves, the person who's the treasurer, what it could involve is, they're the ones that get all the receipts, they keep track of the books, they got to know Excel, and they also have to be there, to write checks every weekend.
That's signing power on the account.
Yeah.
And the two treasurers they have exclusive signing power, and nobody else has signing power. Is that how it works?
Yeah. I think most organizations are like that. You just want two people. That's enough. And so that's what it involves. They got to be willing to be there every Saturday when people expect to get paid. Spend hours and hours and go through their petitions and say, okay, those are acceptable. Here's your check. It's work, but people need to know that. And then, like I said, the keeping of receipts, keeping of some ledgers, and then whether people want it monthly or bi-monthly, whatever, to put out a ledger, put out a whole report, and it's hours. And so this is bookkeeping. You got to know how to do it and be willing to and able to focus on it, put the work in.
That are professional signature documents, and we know how to do it in the correct places.
Right.
Okay, because we're not enough people in this room.
That's the key. That's the key.
And we're looking at specifically a minimum of 15,000. Is this correct? 15,000 additional signatures at this point, on top of what we've already got.
To get that 15,000, we want double that.
And we have a tentative due date of June.
Right, but now keep something in mind, as that may seem to you like, wait a minute, we're never gonna, and you know what, but what you don't realize, what you don't know, two things in our past history. One phone call.
Yeah, I just wanted to make,
I'm sorry.
I don't know why you need to correct what I'm saying, because I don't think any of those things you just said, but is that the main reason why we want to raise money?
Right, to hire people who can do this 5-6 days a week. So a lot of us are busy, we have jobs, and so we don't have the time to dedicate. But if you have a budget, you can say, this is what we did. We went on Craigslist and we hired people to work 5 days a week.
And you pay them $10 an hour?
10 to 15 an hour, depending on their
Capacity.
Their average.
Do we have an idea of how much they contributed?
Yeah, we did the major part.
What's the number that came in through there?
They got 20,000.
When we had
They did 20,000?
I think so.
Most of the signatures and most of the money they raised went to that.
There you go, it was close.
We had days, by the way. Ted was overseeing this with a few others of us, and we had days when we brought in 1,000 in a day.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people have jobs right now, so I think that they're
There's no shortage.
It's like you're getting some money together. So the next couple of weeks, we can get on the phone, get some money together, we can hire people back.
we can have Harvard education. Princeton. NYU.
They got it. They got it. All right. The people got it.
He's going to think about it.
I don't think I can handle this by myself. Being there every Saturday would be one thing. That would be, I'm not an accountant, and this would be a learning curve for me.
Yeah. You want to know Excel, like I said, and.
Why don't we all just take this as an issue and come back with maybe a friend who was an accountant who might find this an important contribution to life?
Well, can we resolve that we solve the issue of treasurer and transparency at the next meeting in 2 weeks? So
Also,
it's no longer an issue.
Yeah. And we were working towards this. I put out emails like last summer saying what we want to do to broaden things and to get other people on the account. And I expected, but also let me go back. There were 2 people on the account when it was. Because this, as you all know, is an outgrowth of New York 9/11 truth. It's important for me to say this here in public. A lot of people don't know this. Everybody probably gets little bits and pieces, and bits and pieces don't put together the whole story. But there were 2. Harvey Newman was on the account, and then he left the GCC, and that's when there was basically a shift over to this new petition minus the Attorney General. Okay, and so at that point, then there was a lot of shifting going on, and a lot of things to work out and resolve and hash through, and then it got to be like March and April, and it's like, hey, we got to move forward here. We got to get this going, and then all effort went into organizing and pushing through to make this happen, okay? So, and at that point, it's like all the time and effort had to be focused on organizing and getting the signatures. And then we got, through the summer, and I'm saying, I know at some point we have to organize this or continue to organize, but all the effort went into the daily collecting the signatures. And then the intention was, okay, September came, October, at that point, stop, clarify, and see where we're going to go with the financing. I put together the report at that point. That was October, and also, again, I put out emails saying there's going to have to be evolution here, so that there is in fact full transparency and so forth. So yes, the understanding has been there for months and months and months, and it's just, this is, the way things have transpired, very much coming out of the situation with the, quote, original petition with the Attorney General. And so I hope that explains most of this, and
I have a question.
Okay, 2 questions.
I have a question. Yeah. Somebody raised PayPal. PayPal using the internet.
right.
Does that lend itself to anonymity?
To what?
Anonymity, an anonymous contribution. Because I feel that in pursuit of funds, we should do this on a basis of a 2-pronged attack. Go after the fat cats, and also $5 and $10 contributions, because that can work. But of course, that requires automation. So we have to design a website that will serve 2 purposes: raising money and also facilitate signing the petition on the internet. Now, will that work? Like we did it already. We had it up on the website, and then they just print out the petition and sign it.
Yeah.
So
that's still there.
How would that work? They would need a witness anyway?
Okay. People can still download the petition, sign it, mail it in. That's still functional. And there is PayPal there, functional for small contributions. And also it says on the website for anybody who would like to make a large contribution and get tax deduction to contact us, and we can work that out. Thinking that we would then structure that through the church, and also, by the way, there are other organizations that we can go to who have nonprofit status who can function as fiscal sponsors. That's the way it's done. They have already set tax exemption, and you just do an agreement with them to be your fiscal sponsor. They get the check, and then they get a small percentage, and then you get the rest.
Let me say something about this.
That's officially done.
For people, just for historical folks, is that when we decided to do it in St. Mark's, there was a fiscal sponsor, which it's been, their churches have been fiscal sponsors for a number of groups and so forth. There were people who were talking about transparency issues, who were calling they act as a fiscal sponsor for this group. So part of the context of less, working out all this had to also deal with certain bad actors who were making it very difficult for us to function with this fiscal sponsor that we had, because they were getting a bad rap.
But what's productive about bringing that up now?
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is that Les, has caught a lot of grief in terms of, things that are not being transparent and so forth and so on. And I, for one, just want to make it very clear that he's been as transparent as we could possibly be, given the circumstances of that we were confronted with at various points, particularly when it became difficult for us to maintain our status here.
I'd love to talk to you and Les maybe after the meeting about some stuff. I don't want to spend any more meetings.
Right. No, I just wanted to
Frank,
make
that's
that
why I'm talking at an end, okay?
Right.
Consider Rosie O'Donnell, but consider any arbitrary fat cat. They may be very motivated, be very interested in helping us out, but their contribution to something like this could be tracked back to them. And if we provide a means for anonymous contributions, let's say PayPal or third party or whatever it might be, and weave that into an automated website where we could kill two birds with one stone. Facilitate anonymous contributions, and also let them print it out, because we need automation. It's a numbers game, okay? We need boots on the ground. We need to expose this to as many people as possible. Freeway blogging. Put up a banner, contribute. Go to website 9/11 Evil. Contribute, or whatever. And this way we can expand the universe of people who can help us.
Have we done the math as to how much money we need to pay these petitioners $10 an hour? How much money would that be? That's number one. This event will be in Maryland, March 14th. That's all going to go into this into the fundraising. Have we done the math as to how much money we need for this, or what?
15,000.
Based on our experience,
At least 15,000. 15, 20. That's what did it for us last year. Last year we got a $20,000 donation, and that's why we have 30,000 signatures now.
15,000.
no, we got a total of, I remember the number, but anyway, the average cost is $1.50.
So every one of us could give $1,000.
So if we want 25,000, let's say 30,000 signatures, 1.5 times 30,000, it's at $45,000.
Yeah, and that may seem like a lot of money, but for the people, we got one phone call made $20,000, and then that's all. Sometimes that's sometimes.
But it's a numbers game. You have to.
Yeah, it's hard.
The percentage of positive responses is very small.
Like this lady said now, we have the internet now. Look at what has been raised on the internet for political campaigns. That's the key.
Okay, we're going to get this fiscal sponsor in order so that some people can do it not tax exempt.
Right.
Okay. And then we're going to do the other thing, the anonymous contribution website.
Right.
We got to raise as much money as possible, not only for the signatures, but there's got to be a parallel campaign that people start to think about in terms of publicity campaign around the city. Letting people know that this thing is going to be on the ballot, that questions need to be answered, that there were people that need to be put under oath, and people are ready to come forward. If we have people that are ready to come forward, who was the guy that came here at one time? Wayne. People are ready to come forward and give the information to the public, okay? But we must pass this, all right, in order to get this process underway. So the parallel campaign needs money too.
That's right.
So we got to in a fundraising letter that goes out, we got to put both of these things down. That's right. Signatures, right?
Speaking of parallel campaigns, so you mentioned Ted Walter. Ted he was basically chief volunteer coordinator, whatever his title was. he recruited a few dozen really talented volunteers and organizers, and I would say that he probably single-handedly got several thousand ballot initiative signatures within a few weeks. So he's a real energized guy. Now I know NYC can, you mentioned parallel organizations. There is this other, I don't know what's going on with it right now. I mean, I haven't been in touch with Ted that much, but a new website, a beta test is up right now. And nyccan.org, I think is the acronym for New York City Coalition for New Investigation. So, Les, I wanted to ask you, like, what's the status of Frank? Like, I know you've been in touch with Ted. And it sounds like a great vehicle to assist in that.
Yeah, Ted and Chris Burke. We had some meetings over these months about trying to orchestrate a campaign that was more mainstream. I'm kind of summarizing. I'm trying to keep it the basics. Chris, in particular, expressed an interest in raising money and was wanting to do so, and we were wanting him to do so. And he felt that it would be, more feasible to raise the kind of money that he was talking about through a more mainstream approach. I think it's fair to say that, he felt that the campaign to this point leaned too much towards 9/11 truth issues. Because don't forget that, our campaign is always skirted, between 9/11 truth and the ballot initiative. Well, if you know it was an inside job, then why do you need an investigation? Sort of like that. And I think it's important that they be kept separate. But in real terms, I mean, whatever, we did the best we could, and so on. Some of us maybe could take less of less public role in it. But in any case, long story short, we haven't yet. I spoke to Ted 2 days ago, and he said, well, they're really not really ready to go. Because I said, come Wednesday, because we want to figure out how we integrate this new approach into this. He was meeting with Chris tonight, and I said, well, you should come to the meeting. But he chose to try to meet with Chris. And to my understanding, we haven't really, to this point, seen the kind of funds that we thought might be there. But then again, we're waiting. We've waited for funds before, we're waiting some more.
Have they been trying to get to solicit funds on their own?
Well, yeah, this is, he worked with another group, Tuesday's Children, and they raised quite a bit of money. So we had reason to believe that this would be viable, along with a more mainstream approach. But, it remains to be seen how that would go. But I was hoping that we'd get more info by
Just
the
to hear what was
year.
going on. I mean, Ted, just for people who, most of you guys know Ted, he's a really hard worker.
Yeah.
Really hip on everything.
I think he's working. I think he's working with Chris and seeing how that works.
Just testing it out, and then they're going to bring it to the organization to see.
But he was very clear about not really being ready to go yet. And my sense is, I know Chris was in Dubai or something.
Chris Burke.
What was he going to have ready to go? I don't get it. Why he's saying something ready to go?
A website.
A website, and looking to reconceptualize how we frame the ballot initiative campaign from here on in. In other words, that there was some feeling on the part of some people, Ted and Chris in particular, that we needed to take a more mainstream approach for this latter half of the campaign.
Okay, could I just make a comment on that? This mainstream approach versus they blew up the World Trade Center. Let's catch it, all right? Now, those are the two twin poles. But I think you got to hit the exact right tone. And it's got to be. It can't be one thing or another. can't be either extreme. It's got to be, you got to hit the bullseye on the right tone for it, you know. So, you know what I'm saying, right? It's got to say there are serious unanswered questions. There's a lot of suspicious circumstances. It's got to say it in the right way, and people really need to get to work together on that to hit the right tone. Because this idea, I didn't like the idea of NYC can, you know, sounds like the Obama campaign, you know, or whatever, you know. But I don't care that much about the name. Advertising, the way that we presented the publicity campaign, has got to hit the right, just the bullseye, the right way to say it.
Yeah, you know, when you're gathering signatures on the street, it's best really not to go into all the incriminating evidence because we don't realize it because we're interested in it, but it scares the average person when you start telling them this happened and this happened. So really all you need to say is there's never been a proper investigation into 9/11.
Yes.
While it's used as the basis for a lot of our foreign policy and even for a lot of our national policy, and even the two co-chairs of the government's commission in 2004 say that it wasn't a proper investigation. So we need to have a proper investigation and just really stick to that. Now, sometimes you'll get into a conversation with somebody who, and you know what people say to me, then I let them tell me, yeah, it was all Bush. They tell me, I don't tell them.
Right.
And then they sign. But I don't go into all the details, and that's just from experience. That's just from realizing that when people have a bad reaction to us, it's really so much comes down to fear. So much of if somebody's hostile to us or whatever, it's at the bottom of that is fear.
Yeah.
But an investigation for something that's never been investigated, that's really a major issue, is something that's reasonable that they will sign for.
I think that one question I have, because I think from the beginning I felt that it's counterproductive to talk about a conclusion when you haven't had your commission. So you're talking about an investigation. That means we're looking for answers. So that to me is like rock bottom where we start and where we hope to finish with the truth. But what I'm concerned about is the public saying, we don't need it now because we've got another administration, and there are rumblings about getting these guys accountable. So there's a lot of this stuff going on, and I want to have some really clear answers and written stuff that says this is important in spite of the fact that the changes have taken. It appears that the governments are now going to investigate some of the shenanigans. But I think we're going to have to work against a lot of feeling that it's going to be done by some other group.
Well, okay. The quote, Truth Commission headed by Leahy, right? Everybody should know Patrick Leahy, right? That, he's from Vermont, and they did a ballot initiative in Vermont a couple years ago. And you know, he made a statement that even if it was passed, he as senator from Vermont would not support any kind of investigation. There you go. So therefore, it doesn't matter who's there now in this quote Truth Commission. It stands on its own, and it has to be pushed forward on its own as its own entity. We cannot depend on Washington to investigate.
Forget it in the material and in our fields. And the material we disseminate has to be this very clear understanding for the public.
Washington.
We are not duplicating anything.
If I could give you a suggestion, I know exactly what you're asking for. You're asking for sort of a soundbite of how to respond to people that say that we have a change of administration. Or you can say, well, Obama is actually on the record by saying, I would rather look forward, I do not want to look back. Right? So therefore, but we know that we have a grassroots movement that's already impacted public opinion. And even in that Patrick Leahy Truth and Reconciliation Commission, there is some rumblings of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission about torture. And we're the ones saying, like, well, how did we get the USA to be a torturing country in the first place? We really need to not only investigate torture, but investigate the historical incident that created, this climate. Thank you.
Back to fundraising. What if we did the things we did before? Put the DVDs on, show them, suggested donation. People come in, you know, in the basket. I don't know, sometimes you're making like 400 a night or something like that. We can't do that anymore?
You don't make that much.
Oh, they don't make that much. Okay, I mean, this is a part of fundraising, you know. It's going through my mind.
Part of dissemination of information. So what we need is the money to pass them out when somebody's doing it on the subway. Thousands and thousands of these.
Yeah, that's what
CDs. Just, I mean, there's a massive education.
Well, I'm talking about fundraising. You know, they come to see it with a suggested donation. Money, but this guy gets $5.
Do you have a CD burn the wall? Yeah, is it slow or takes a long time?
You do 7 at a time. Each one takes about, each pass through takes about 5 minutes. Yeah, no, it's 7 to 5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
People's energy is probably, you know, getting to where we start thinking about what we want to cover before we shut down.
Yeah.
We'll have a meeting in 2 weeks' time. Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
We'll deal with the transparency issues. Also, just research clearly the issues that we brought up. What happens after we hand them in? Who do we hand them in to? The override circumstances, the validity issues, all that. We get all that really nailed down with citations so that we have some people on record. Well, Rosie said this, Clark said that. Bill's lawyer said this.
Carter said that it's a good idea.
Yeah, and just get all that taken care of. And before then, we'll have a fundraiser committee meeting and see if we get some things going. We'll have some happy news next meeting. Thousands of dollars we raised. Think positive.
So, anybody have any other ideas of people who would work well as a treasurer?
Oh, Steve's not here. He went to.
I don't think so. I'm not an accountant. I'm not going to necessarily all be there on Saturday. If they could have 2 or 3 people, it's a team on it. Design it.
How about Sandra?
Or Ted Walter.
He's the one that brought it up.
I would say Stan or Ted.
Yeah.
The thing is, that would take a lot of his time.
Who knows Excel? Let's start there.
No, Sandra, do you want to be the treasurer?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But do you have to know this computer thing?
Excel's
You got to. It's pretty easy.
All right, I do know Excel. I've got it on my Mac. I've run finance before at a corporation, but and I'm honored that you would have suggested. I'll think about it.
Okay. 2 weeks time, we're going to decide.
Can we set up this fund?
I was going to nominate Ted for that too. I mean, just bridging the gap between the two organizations. I just want to ask a couple of you guys if you want to look at nyccan.org. I don't want to steal Ted's thunder.
Yeah.
But I know that site would answer a lot of questions about this presentation.
He's come over.
And
we've been working together with Ted and
Chris
all along.
I just want to clarify because I have been keeping up with all this stuff. I did look at the website for the first time because of your email, and I know the answer to be. I didn't read all the, I didn't follow up on all the links and the what do you call it? Info. But I always thought this was us. Now we seem to be talking about 2 different organizations.
I wouldn't suggest that it's 2 different organizations. There has been some discussions about the need to mainstream the message around the petition drive, and those discussions have come out of a few individuals.
Right. The impression of the message.
Right.
In a better way.
And grew out of the potential to raise large amounts of money for the remaining portion of the campaign. So, some of us, all right, let's listen to this because, maybe this will facilitate the rest of the campaign. What are we really talking about, et cetera, et cetera. And Les has been involved in those discussions. We've been talking to Ted, we've been talking to Chris, we've been working this. And we said, well, Ted, we've got to have a meeting. Times are running out. We're losing days here. We got to get cracking. Come to the meeting Wednesday. And like I said, he contacted me and said, I'm meeting with Chris, who's back from Dubai, and so on. So I haven't heard anything about it.
So the way I look at this is like rebranding.
Yeah.
Which is cool. You know, there's a new phase. You do this. You rebrand. You know, new phase. You know, consolidate, new message, new phase, whatever. And especially if this can facilitate some major fundraising, which is like Frank said, was the initial purpose for doing this. Okay. So that's all well and good, and it's just a matter of, I think, you got to include, for instance, a section on who the commissioners are.
Right, it's not there.
It's not there. And a few other things that I think would, you know, just fill out the information part of the site.
Could I make a comment on this stuff, branding and everything? How are you going to have a commission to investigate a major crime that you don't believe that the major criminals have been caught yet, okay? And come out of a campaign to have that commission set up based on this is a mainstream thing, you know? And then all of a sudden you're going to switch over to, wait a minute, we want these people subpoenaed here for mass murder, okay? How are you going to make that transition? It's really a form of, I mean, just think about looking at it this way. Isn't it kind of a form of false advertising to come out with NYC can, we just want to know the truth, we don't want to mention anything, and mainstream the whole thing, and all of a sudden switch over to who's responsible for this mass murder? We've got to find that out now. That's a complete dichotomy there. That's a totally different thing. And you're not going to be able to make that transition if you make a total commitment to mainstreaming everything. You're just going to mainstream your way right toward another bullshit commission. Okay? That's why it's got to hold the elements of there is a mass crime that went on. We want the people responsible. Okay? And it's got to have that edge. And not to the point of scaring people, you know, but it's got to have somewhat of that. You see what I'm saying? It's got to have that edge.
I got a point of order. You had Frank suggest that we kind of wrap up this part of the meeting and get back on the agenda. So it's 9:06 now. Do we want to spend, what, a couple more minutes maybe on this and then less? I'm not saying I'm asking. What else do we have to do? What else do we have to do?
Yeah, what else do we have to do?
I would like to talk about the Ameros for one thing.
Right, there we go. Okay, so for the...
I just want to say, we should remember that NICAN stands for Coalition for Accountability Now. We are saying what we want, and the petition is still going to do what it's doing, and people can read the whole thing. A lot of people who sign with me read the whole petition. You know, they know what the commission is going to do, that they're voting for, that they're signing for to get on the ballot. So it's not that we're like Obamaizing our campaign. It's just that we're not scaring people away from signing the petition to get it. And everything changes once you're on the ballot. That's when that's when you'll get big contributions. That's when people will really, you know, you'll start to see a real groundswell. Should I talk about the Ameros?
Sure, please.
Okay, the Ameros are a rock group who sing about socially conscious issues, and one of their topics is 9/11 truth. And they're going to be in New York Saturday night, and I'm hoping people will take flyers and give flyers out for it, because they'll split half the money that they make with us. And also, maybe we could even ask for more contributions when we're there, when they're playing and everybody's having a good time and drinking and they're playing inspirational songs. Maybe people would even give us more contributions. So that's a fun.
It's this flyer. There's a stack here.
And I'm hoping people will give those flyers out.
What do they get the name of Ameros?
Well, you know, that's the new North American coin they wanted to have, that Canada and Mexico. It's like the euro, only it'll be North America, Mexico, and Canada.
No, tell them it's ironic.
It's ironic. Yeah. It's ironic.
So, okay, how many people here? Who's yeah, it's very good. We have at least 14 people there, more like 20 or more. How many? Okay, Gordon has been making a lot of phone calls.
He's got more than 14.
He's got more than 14. Anybody that has not been in touch with Gordon here that can be there, so we'll add to the list.
I'm going to bring a few people. I'm on the list, but I'm going to bring a few people.
But remember to say that when you're at the door, when you pay, remember to say you're there because of 9/11. I say the ballot initiative. I should say that. Go to their website. I don't know. It's very
It's a lousy. Ka-ching, yes.
Lingual.
I'm not sure what the 9/11 Nation troop. I know that like exercise.
Excuse me, folks. Events. We're on the topic of events, and Carol organized. Carol did an awful lot of work. She spotted an event. Young Socialists of America, and we had people there all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
The only problem is nobody came to the conference. But as far as the organizing went, it was beautiful because there's a lot of active members who aren't here tonight. And, you know, we had 2 people at the table Friday night, 2 people at the table Friday night, and 2 people at the table for the whole weekend. And the whole, you know, the people cooperated and got it together. And we did a beautiful job organizing for it. The problem was we didn't pay attention the last week. Like when I first saw the announcement that they were going to have this conference and they were looking for people to have tables, I looked into the group, I looked all over the website, I talked to the organizers. I saw that they were reaching out to colleges around Manhattan. So my worry was, well, there won't be any Manhattan people. He said, so I talked to the organizers and they said, no, we're doing outreach to all the New York City colleges. We're going to have carts on BAI. We're going to have an ad donation. So it all sounded good. But the thing that I didn't do that I'll remember to do next time is the last week I didn't pay attention. The last week I didn't call back and say, how's the outreach doing to the New York City colleges? And it didn't occur to me, gee, I'm not hearing these carts on BAI. I wonder why that is. So, you know, what happened was they had that big ecological demonstration in Washington, the power shift, and even Ted went to that. And I think the colleges had 3 buses to that. So all the political college students that weekend at the last minute went to Washington. And nobody came to this conference.
Even though Amy was there.
Yeah, Amy Goodman was there. Friday night, the issue was the Stella D'Oro strike, and that's a very big labor issue. None of them came. Maybe their union said, "Oh no, it's sponsored by the Democratic Socialists. We don't want to be red-baited." So maybe that's just my guess. But not one of those strikers that you see on YouTube by the thousands being so political, not one of them came. So next time I'm just going to look at it last week because you can cancel. I mean, the thing was we didn't pay money for that table, and I feel bad because we only have 2 signatures. But we learned something.
Yeah, we learned something, went through the process, and I think Carol's idea is a good one, that when we do have big events, like for instance, last Friday at the Society for Ethical Culture, had Naomi Klein, it was on the economic meltdown and her new book and everything. It was like, you couldn't get in the door. So
there were like 800 people.
800 people, more than that, I think. Peter Lorre went, he said he was in a line all the way down to Broadway. And then when he finally got to the door, there was still a line back to Broadway. So anyway,
you know what? It wasn't worth going in. I was there for the whole program. I wish I would have went somewhere else.
Well, okay.
She was here.
Excuse me. The point.
No, we're not talking about that.
The point.
Klein.
Okay, that's the point is these major events we can be there either to try to table or be, we work in the line, and so forth. So, okay, upcoming events. There's the Ameros, Thursday, March 19th. That's a week from tomorrow. There's a big protest. The 6th anniversary of the Iraq War. 1 p.m. at Union Square. And then 5 p.m. at the New York Times Square Recruitment Center. There's going to be a lot of folks. There's going to be mobs of people out in the streets, I'm sure. Okay, big opportunity to petition. Here's the supplies. And, Just
Okay, Charlie.
Okay, my sister has been a big part of she's with Labor Against the War now, okay? And they have been talking about switching over from Iraq to Afghanistan, okay? So if anybody could think about it, what case can we as 9/11 truthers make, you know, to be in line with what's going to be happening in Afghanistan? You know,
the pipeline.
That's what brought us to the Middle East.
The pipeline.
The original strike on New York. The intentions were to start a war. That's why we're there. That's how it started. And that's a fact.
All right. Well, you can also ask how did Osama bin Laden get out of Tora Bora? Because it was ridiculous how he got out. If you ever want to find that out.
True.
And
because we let him out.
And my Bible, the Terror Timeline. Read it. Read the whole part on what happened right after they bombed Afghanistan, timeline by timeline. The way they took the Taliban generals and certain high-level generals said leave those guys alone. The high-level Taliban generals. The way they flew the planes from they took Taliban and Al-Qaeda fighters out of Afghanistan and put them in Pakistan. Okay, I mean, we got to get our knowledge on that. Okay, because the anti-war movement is going to be shifting over, so we got to get our knowledge on that whole thing.
Isn't that true that the Taliban were ahead of us for 9/11 truth? They not sent to George Bush, show us the evidence.
Oh yes, that part too.
We'll give you Osama bin Laden.
Definitely that part too.
We should send them 9/11 truth instead of troops.
Yeah, exactly. This, as a matter of fact, will be more right up our alley, and if the anti-war movement wants to latch on to that, it's going to be almost impossible for them to latch on to being against this war in Afghanistan, because everybody's looking at this as the true war on terror, without addressing the anomalies of what happened there in Afghanistan. How did Osama bin Laden, who walks with a cane, get out from Tora Bora into Pakistan? If you read about that, it was ridiculous. You know, so
Charlie,
let's get into that. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
The top
get
issue
your heads into
is
that.
two invasions, Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Linked to 9/11.
Also, that the Russians are now the biggest consumer of heroin in the world.
True. And the pipeline. Two things about the pipeline. One is that, I remember reading that, it seemed that U.S. Army bases appeared on the path where the pipeline was to be constructed. What does that tell you? And then there's an article from July 24th of 08 by Eric Margolis. I don't know if anybody knows that name. This is LouRockwell.com, where he did research showing that indeed the pipeline was being constructed. Because I know a lot of years went by where we were looking for information, saying what's going on with it? Are they actually pursuing this? Are they building it? And it's there. It's being constructed.
I did bring this up before, but I mean, without money for those, and I understand that there are people prepared to come up with $5 million a year if this passes, and it's a fact. Those people, I mean, I'm not going to name numbers, for a tiny fraction of what they promise, we can get this thing done. And I don't understand why I'm going to name numbers and strong and say, now's the need. If $5 million a year is less, what's going on?
Yeah,
It's kind of hard. Can I have their names and numbers and we call them and say, hey guys, we need 100,000 and we'll get this thing going. If they want it done, that's what is going on.
I brought that up to, this has been brought up before. This is brought up.
Do you call them and say, hey guys, can I call them?
No.
Do I have the names and numbers?
These are people that built it. Knows and came to us saying that we get this passed. they would be there to dig it in the pocket. Yeah.
Why don't you call Bill Pepper and ask him that question? Because Pepper is the one who came up with these people. Pepper has never told anybody who they are. And it also calls into question the whole funding mechanism. If you're relying on people that aren't going to even come up with a dime to get it passed, how do you know they're going to come up with any money at all? And maybe they'll just fall out. You know, who knows? You know, so say that happens. I mean, there's got to be some kind of a stir around this group, around what is happening with this so-called funding mechanism. People ought to call Pepper personally. I would suggest finding his phone number, calling him up and saying, "You're involved."
No, wait.
Everybody knows who Bill Pepper is. I'm sure you can get his phone number from the phone book and say that you're involved in this group and you want to know why don't they come up with some.
First of all, I can say this, that if he was able to go to these people and say, look, you know, how about $100,000 now so we can get it on the ballot? Right? If he was able to do that, he would have done it a long time ago. I know that.
Well, that sounds unreliable. Yeah. I mean, look, if people are supposed to be pledging $5 million. If you can't even get on the phone with them, that sounds very unreliable.
Where are we at on the agenda?
We're at wanting to get what you're working on. You said you had an event coming up.
Well, thank you, Reverend Frank.
That's what I want to know.
Because, I mean, all right, this is, I know that it's getting kind of late. I'm getting kind of impatient, and I don't want to cover up the same ground we covered. So let's get back on the agenda. We're in the preliminary stages of organizing the same 9/11/09 anniversary. This year is the first year that it's the anniversary with Bush out of office. I want to be able to see everybody, so I can stand up here and be able to make eye contact with everybody. It's called the Real Change and Transparency Conference. It's going to be 9/12 and 9/13, and it's going to kick off with a big concert on 9/11/09. All right, and we want to be as big as possible. We want to reserve the daytime for actions. Maybe as this thing organizes, it will even be a big march. So far, we've already got Richard Gage confirmed. Stephen Jones is interested in coming and appearing and speaking. Robert Steele, former CIA guy who's now into open source intelligence, very interesting guy. But we're not calling it 9/11 Truth, and we're not calling it 9/11 is not in the title because we're trying to appeal to a little bit of that mentality of how can we broaden this a little bit without defanging it, Eric. So it's called Real Change and Transparency. And part of the inspiration is that, with this new administration, we've been promised transparency. So now it's up to us, the people, the populists, the progressives, the patriots, to kind of raise the bar on what real transparency is. So I'm going to circulate a sign-up sheet if you want to be on the email contact sheet. It's kind of a work group steering committee. Please give me your email. If you don't have email, give me your phone number.
Excuse me, when is this event? I'm sorry.
9/11/09
the next 9/11
to 9/13/09. Yeah.
The location would be...
We're still working on the venue. I've been thinking about Hunter, but other people on the steering committee have said...
That's right, it's not too far away.
Okay, just keep in mind that we have Tompkins Square Park booked for Friday night, 9/11, 12 to 13, and I know Flash is organizing shows there, so you might want to
Great, glad to hear it.
Work something there for at least one of those nights.
That's great.
If you want to show a film, have some stuff Friday night in the park and maybe show a film and do some mentions.
Just curious. I'm sorry, somebody else go ahead. I've been talking.
Do you need some music? I have a couple contacts with some pretty large bands.
Okay, great.
Good. Are they with the chorus or just...
Rest of them.
Anything else, Sandra?
Let's get the Oh man, I love that.
We got to wrap up here.
Yeah, great. I'm done. If you're interested in hearing more, I can tell you more. There's already a blog about this on my GNN blog. The very first thing I talk about is the importance of 9/11 Truth. Talk a little bit about controlled demolition. Talk a little bit about the patsies and tracking the patsies through the official story. And then I talk about some other stuff about prosecuting Bush and Cheney, due process of law, the identity of...
Can you do your blog first?
Yeah, the blog is Sander. and or just go on sanderhicks.com. This is the best way to find it. Go on sanderhicks.com, and there's a link in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see it. Real change and transparency. You can't miss it.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's wrap up here. Do we have the beginnings of a financial committee, a fundraising committee that wants to meet?